parang almost like a club na you don't just easily get into gaming. It's either you're a gamer or you're not. You can't fake it. You can't, you can't be a poser in the gaming industry. They'll call you out. Hi everyone, this is Paul Loves to Read, and as you know, in this channel, it's all about spreading the love and joy for literature. And today I'm super excited to share with you this book. This beautiful book. It's called Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. And look at that cover. My God, I love this book. Super. I finished this book in hindi naman one day, but I did not put the book down. It's unput downable. I stayed up really late to finish it, and it's a thick book, huh? It's a thick book, but really it's epic. It's beautiful, and it's everything I expected it to be, and so much more. So I'm so happy. I'm so happy that I got the physical book. By the way, I almost did not. I almost bought the ebook because I couldn't wait for it any longer. And then one of my indie bookstores that I follow, they have it available, and more than that, it is a signed copy. Oh, diba? So happy. The indie online bookstore that I follow is called Page and Turner. I often tag her in my post. I get a lot of books from her. So happy, so thank you. So happy. It's a signed copy, by the way. I mentioned it already, so I'm just mentioning again. I'm happy I got the physical book because it's a very nice cover, but usually I would prefer the physical book for books that I really love. For some reason, I kind of knew that I would love this book. I had high expectations on this one, and like I said, met my expectations and more. So just very quickly on the book cover, you have seen this before. This artwork, it's not immediately obvious, but if you look closely on the book cover, you would see that it's actually a wave, an ocean wave, and this is the famous Japanese art, Hokusai's The Great Wave painting. And you've seen it, I swear to you, you've seen it somewhere. It has been reproduced, mass-produced, copied, reprinted everywhere. And this artwork is key to the story. So, yes. So it's, it has meaning. It's not random, is I guess what I want to say. The author I have read, this is the second book I have read of the author. The first book that I've read, the first book that I've read from this author is another bestseller. It's called The Storied Life of A.J. Fikry. I read it 2017, maybe 2018, 2017. Another book that I loved, but super different from this one. Like polar opposites, but equally good books, equally great books. There is so much to unpack about this book. I could probably talk about this a lot. So for starters, the genre of the story is a mixed bag. You could call it a love story, but not really. It is also kind of, it has an element of, hindi naman science fiction, but it has an element of gaming, because their world is in the gaming industry. It has undertones of philosophical undertones, like very deep undertones. It tackles a few social issues, not too deep, but it mentions it. It's right there. And it spans decades. The story spans decades. That's why I call it epic, right? It is epic because the story starts off with them at 11, 12 years old, and then it goes on for decades when they're adults na, like mid-30s to 40s to late 30s, ganyan. So, the two protagonists, the story centers around two protagonists, Sam and Sadie, and they met when they were 11 years old, 10, 11 years old. And their friendship lasts towards the adulthood. They are both game developers, game designers. Sadie, the girl, Sam, the guy, they have this really strong bond, but weird in a way. They are best friends, but they were at some point also best enemies. And you would think, you as the reader, it's so obvious that they love each other. beyond anyone or anything. And as the reader, you would wonder how and why they just do not push their relationship further. Like, how come they just, why can't they just get together as lovers, right? But then you realize as a reader, and the author will make you believe that their relationship is so much stronger than being lovers because they are gamers. I don't know how to explain it, but but that's what my key takeaways, one of my key takeaways from the book, that when you're in the world of gaming and when you're in the world of game design and game developing, your world is different. Gaming to you is not just a game. It's a lifestyle. It's not just a lifestyle. It's a belief. It's a principle. It's something. It's your identity. And for Sam, the protagonist, for Sam and Sadie, it's like that. Nothing is beyond gaming. Like, it's their number one priority. Their world revolves around that. So I thought it was brilliant. I'm so blown away by the world of gaming and by the process of producing a game and game designers. Much respect to gamers and game designers, game developers out there. Brilliant, brilliant minds. Yeah. The author, Gabrielle Zevin, she's also a gamer herself. Maybe not to an extent as the protagonists, but she's a gamer. So she kind of, she has that street cred to talk about gaming. Yeah. And another thing that I loved, and not about the plot, at the back, you should always read acknowledgements portion in the books. And I loved the acknowledgements portion of this author because she, beyond the people who helped her, she also highlighted some of the articles, some of the artworks, some of the books that helped her in her writing process. So I thought, and the games, of course, the games that influenced her in this book. So I loved that because after reading the fictional story of it, and then you read the acknowledgement part, you kind of add that layer of reality, di ba, na you understand better where or what fueled her to write this, and it is inspired by real things in the real world. So that gives the story, the fictional story, more meat, or more, it becomes richer. And the story is set in California, majority of it, and she's a Californian. So again, she cites real places in the real world. So that, again, diba, it's different, I guess. Different. Makes it different. She picked out a few iconic, forgotten spots in California, and she put that in the story. And these are old, forgotten spots. And because they're forgotten, when I was reading it, I was thinking, is this real? Like, it feels like fiction. But then when I read the acknowledgements, it was actually a real place. And then she would update you na what happened to the place. I don't know if I did justice to the plot, to the story. Maybe not, but maybe my enthusiasm makes up for it. But another thing that I loved about this book is it's a story about two young people wanting to make it big in the gaming industry, in a very highly competitive and highly stressful gaming industry, right? And it has that layer of love story, friendship, love, work, discipline, and all that. And then beyond that, the author will paint you a very vivid, colorful world of the gaming industry, like what happens beyond or behind the camera or behind the scenes, right? Behind the games, the people who create the games for you. What are they like? How do they think? What is the thought process? What is the how do they create stuff? For me, that was the most, or one of the most enlightening for me, wherein when I realized that game design is very much similar or the same as storytelling, and it has art in it. It's really the process of creating, the process of creation, the process of imagination and dreams. So I thought that was beautiful, that was brilliant, I loved it. And throughout the story, because again, it spans decades, so you will cover a lot. Throughout the story, there will be different nuances introduced in the games and in the gaming world. So I mentioned earlier, she also tackled some of the real social issues that we have, like same-sex marriage, the difficulty of being a woman in a male-dominated industry, and discrimination and stereotyping and misappropriation. So little things, real life social issues are also inserted within the story, but it was done really, really well and really, really seamlessly, I thought. And she weaved it in the plot line, in the storyline, in such a way that it did not feel awkward. So I thought that was brilliant also. And finally, probably the best key takeaway that I got from this author, from this story, from this book, my ultimate learning is that how play or the act of playing can be such an intimate act. The, the invitation to play with me, with you, can be such a strong bonding moment. Like it can be so intimate and it could build relationships and so much more. I don't know how to explain it, but for some reason, after reading this book, that's what I thought of. Like, kasi play, diba? I mean, playing is for kids. That's what we think for like as adults, diba? Playtime, playing, gaming, it's for kids, for teens. We don't have time for that. But this book, this author made me realize that playing is actually so much more. It's a form of education. It's the fastest way that you could learn, actually, if you gamify or if you play with someone. It's also one of the fastest way to build relationships with someone, or fastest way to discover if you kind of relate with the other person or not. It's like a language all its own, playing, diba? So I thought it was brilliant, and it is in this book that I understood it, that I got it, because I'm not a gamer, so I'm not, I don't know that world, but just reading it and like having a sneak peek into that world, it's beautiful. I loved it. Who will like this book? I can't pinpoint the genre, for one thing. Those who are into gaming probably will like this. But then again, I'm not a gamer. I'm not a gamer. I'm not into gaming, but I love the book because it's so much more than gaming. Albeit that's the center of the story, right? That's the foundation of the story. But it is about relationships of people within the gaming industry. It's about sustaining friendships and relationships, and how do you build that throughout decades, throughout the years, in an environment that is highly stressful, in an environment that is always changing, ever changing, highly competitive. So it's all that. At some level, you could relate to that. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to be a gamer to get that storyline. But because the story is within the gaming industry, for me, it just became so much more, because it is a world that is almost super exclusive. It is a world that is, that's, I don't know, it's a world that is different from most. Highly lucrative, highly competitive, parang almost like a club. Now you don't just easily get into gaming. It's either you're a gamer or you're not. You can't fake it. You can't, you can't be a poser in the gaming industry. They'll call you out, and they'll see right through you. And I think the story being set in that in that setting gives it that different taste or different flavor. I think you would like it because you will relate to it. Also, I enjoyed it because I am fascinated by the world, and what fueled me into keep on reading is because I feel like I'm always learning something new with the people in the gaming industry itself, the thought process on how do you create a game out of nothing. For me, it's almost like artwork talaga. If you download a sample or if you try the first few pages, first chapter, the first chapter is not an indicative of what a ride you will get into. The first chapter is good, but it's more like a meet cute type thing. It's very young. The tone is very young. The tone is very light. But if you go deeper into the book, the author will bring you into such a roller coaster ride experience that it will really feel that from the start of the book, from the first chapter to the last chapter, the tone will change. You will start off with a young voice, with a young, youthful, idealistic voice, happy, positive, optimistic. And then as they grow older, the protagonists, as they grow older, the tone changes. They will become darker. They will become more cynical, more tired, more stressed. And then the tone will change. They grow older. They will become more somber, more steady. So it's, the book itself, the whole story is a roller coaster, and it matches with the protagonist perfectly. Kaya if you read the first chapter only, it is not an indication of how the book gets so much better as you read through it. But yeah, having said that, I would challenge you to try it. I mean, you would absolutely learn something new for sure. It is one of those fiction books that you cannot pinpoint exactly what genre it is because it's like a blended genre, and it's one of those stories wherein it keeps on for years and years, so it feels epic, it feels big emotionally and as well as story wise, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if this would win awards probably later on. It is that good. It really is. Yeah. This book would definitely be hands down a 5-star book for me for this year and probably more years to come. The kind of book that I would go back to read again type book. That's it. It's a blend. I feel like it's a blended genre. It is a roller coaster ride. It's brilliant. It's just beautifully written, and I hope I convinced you somehow. My enthusiasm somehow convinced you, hopefully. But I promise you, this is a very, very good book. Very good. Thank you.